Today I remembered something that my ex did in the beginning of our relationship. And at the time I didn't think much of it, but now I realize that it was a subtle sign of control and emotional abuse. He showed up at my job without notice. And okay, you could think that's not that big a deal, but he didn't text me, he didn't call me ahead, and he didn't know what I was doing. It was after work. I was a teacher at the time, working my school, and he didn't know what I was doing. I could have been in a meeting, I could have been working with another coworker, and that's probably the exact reason that he did it without notice. He called me when he got to the school and had me let him in. So why can that be a subtle form of abuse? Because they don't give you the option of saying no, and they can come check on you in your environment, get to know the people around you before you're actually ready for that to happen. And unless you come across as rude to them, it can look like they're just doing it because they care about you, they miss you, they want to see you. So today I'm going to share some other subtle forms of abuse and how you can recognize them in your own relationship and what to do about it if you experience these things. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lori. I'm a former teacher with a master's in school counseling. I have a coaching certification, and I coach women on getting unstuck from their narcissistic or toxic relationship, because I want them to be able to go on and have a rich and peaceful life afterwards. Okay, at first I thought my ex really cared about me. It felt really nice because I had been in a relationship before with somebody that cheated on me, and I had been discarded. So I was a mom of 3 kids, and I was looking for somebody that was really loyal and empathetic of my situation, somebody that, of course, wouldn't cheat on me again. And it felt really nice to be with somebody that appeared to be really protective, really caring, really generous and kind. But after we were married, he would start getting angry if, say, like I went to visit my parents' house and I stayed longer than expected. He would start texting me and telling me, that I was being insensitive, that I didn't care about his feelings, I was selfish, those type of things. And then, it made me cut my visit short because I was worried about how he was feeling. It made me change my behavior. That's one of the signs of subtle abuse. And that could be on me too. That could be, fear of abandonment, which it was, and those types of things. But he picked up on that fear of abandonment, and he used it as his hook to keep me controlled in the relationship. So I didn't realize I was being emotionally abused for a long time. It was subtle. It was disguised as concern. And back then, I thought abuse was obvious signs like calling you disgusting names or screaming curse words or hitting you. Those are, what we hear about in the news or crime stories and that type of thing. But this abuse that I suffered, and maybe you are too, was much more subtle. So what are the things that can be considered abuse? Because not everything is, of course. But abuse is when someone attempts to gain power or control over you. Physical abuse is just one form of that. And I didn't experience physical abuse, but many people have said that emotional abuse is even worse. So some of those forms are physical, emotional, verbal, psychological, financial, and sexual abuse. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, I'm going to read their definition. Abuse is any behavior that physically harms, intimidates, manipulates, controls, or makes the partner behave in a way they don't want to. So like I mentioned with my ex texting me and calling me during my visits to family, he was making me feel like I couldn't enjoy time with my family, and he made me leave. He didn't make me, but I left before I wanted to because of his manipulation, his, acting hurt and acting like, I was being selfish and I wasn't wanting to spend enough time with him. I didn't want to face an argument or the silent treatment for days if I didn't leave early. I recognized, like, without him even saying, I had been trained that if you don't leave now, you're going to go home, he's going to be angry, he's going to give you the silent treatment, or perhaps rage at me during the night for many hours. Those were some of the things he did. Or he would slam cabinets around the house and just be in a bad mood and make it really miserable for all the kids and me. So in the beginning, subtle forms of abuse start off as charm, concern, or protectiveness. And you may feel loved like you've never felt before. It feels like that fairy tale, like, oh, this person loves me so much. They want to be with me all the time. They want to talk to me all the time. It makes you feel so special because, if you were discarded like me, or if you had another toxic relationship in the past, then maybe you were neglected for a long time. Or even if you grew up in a home where maybe your parents were neglectful, or maybe they were just busy and they worked a lot and they couldn't be with you all the time. So, after my cheating ex, like I said, I was looking for that loyalty, concern, and empathy, and I thought I found it with my second husband. But what I didn't know was he used that knowledge of my past pain as his hook to keep me in the relationship. So here are some examples of subtle abuse. There are thousands, but I'm just going to list a few. Constant texting or checking in disguised as caring, and monitoring wherever you go and who you speak to. So, you're on the phone, they want to know who you're talking to. You are going to visit somebody, they want to know who you're visiting with. And some of that's, again, some of these things can come across as normal. Like, I want to know where my daughter's going, who she's spending time with, but it's the intent. I want to know because I want to make sure she's safe. I want to know where she's going to be and who she's going to be with. But she's also a minor. And, I don't do that with my adult kids because, I might ask casually, like, where are you going? Who are you hanging out with? But I'm not monitoring them so that I can check up on them and so that I can, use whatever information they give me as control later. So you'll see that with a narcissist or other toxic person, they're asking for that information because they're intending to use it against you at some point. So also jokes that devalue you. So they might say something about what you're wearing, or something that you say, or the manner in which you say something, and then they'll play it off as a joke, like, don't be so sensitive, I was just kidding. Withholding affection or giving the silent treatment, so they go for days without talking to you. It could be hours with no intent to come back and repair the relationship later. So they're just going to not talk to you. They use it as a form of control because then you feel like you have to go to them to repair the relationship. You feel like you have to apologize to them for something that they did to cause the argument in the first place. They may also use gaslighting, like, you're too sensitive, or I never said that. They'll just completely deny that whatever happened, and that you're just seeing things, or you got it wrong, or they'll turn it back around on you, like, I wouldn't have done this if you hadn't have done that, so you're the one that caused this problem. So what is the difference between control and care? A healthy partner will respect your boundaries. Like if you say no, they're not going to cross your boundary. And like, you know, I was talking about my ex going to my place of work. A healthy partner would have checked with me and said, you know, is it okay if I come by your work? I'm right near here. I'd love to see where you work. And if I said, no, I'm in a meeting, they would have respected that. Or if I said yes, you know, that would be great because I had the option of saying no. A healthy partner will also encourage your independence, understanding that you're your own person. They want you to be successful. They want you to be happy. A healthy partner will communicate with kindness. They won't scream or use intimidation to get what they want out of you. Okay, so if this is resonating with you and it sounds like, you know, what is going on in your relationship, then maybe you're stuck in this cycle with this partner and you don't quite know how to get out. Schedule a peaceful clarity call, and I'll put the details in the description below. Or, you know, follow along. These videos are free and I try to do one every week. So we'll learn together. Okay, so in contrast of that caring partner, a controlling partner will create a fear that you're upsetting him, that you're making him angry. You know that big punishment comes from disobeying his wishes. Those big punishments might be he will leave you out of decisions in the future. He will rage at you. He will be in a bad mood for days. He will ignore you. He will withhold things. So the controlling partner may require access to your phone, your computer, or other accounts so that they can monitor your behavior. He may make you feel guilty for having any needs at all. So I put a chart here for you to look at the difference between genuine care and controlling. A genuine care is like asking and then respecting if you said no, supporting your growth, has a mutual conversation about feelings, and then the controlling partner pressures until you say yes. They're not taking no for an answer. They feel threatened by your success and they use anger or withdrawal as punishment. Okay, so why people dismiss emotional abuse, and you know, they treat it differently than physical abuse. And that could be anybody, you know, the whole criminal system, judges, courts, they all dismiss emotional abuse because it doesn't cause a visible mark like a bruise or a scratch. And, you know, there's also cultural and generational differences that come into play. So, and then there's also survivors that minimize emotional abuse out of shame to your friends and family members. When they ask you about it, you make excuses for your partner. You say things like, that's just the way he is. He didn't mean anything by it, or he's just stressed from work. So we minimize it because we're embarrassed that our partner is treating us this way. And I think a lot of times we don't trust ourselves that we're not going to keep going back to this partner. And if, you know, you've probably heard the statistic that survivors go back to their partner an average of 7 times because we are stuck in this trauma bond, and it's very difficult to break that trauma bond. So I had posted a video on TikTok last week about one of these subtle forms of abuse, and it was about a partner that was, you know, acting like he cared, and he was saying that he was going to drive the woman to the place that she was going because it wasn't a safe part of town and he would feel better if he drove her. And the second part of that video was him taking over the dishes, insinuating that she couldn't do it right. So somebody left a comment that said, I consider abuse an act of beating someone with a cord. And then, she went on to list many other horrendous things that I think a lot of us think of as abuse. We don't recognize these subtle forms. That's one of the reasons that I like to post about these, because people like her and people like I was in the past, we don't really understand what emotional abuse is or what it can do to harm you. And we also don't recognize that often it's the precursor to those more awful behaviors. So it's very important to recognize them. It's very important for women and young girls, anybody really, to start to recognize these signs, because, I think we're just having more and more of these toxic, narcissistic people in our society. I feel like that number's growing. So how can you begin recognizing abuse in your own relationship? You can begin recognizing it by asking yourself some questions. So I'm going to give you a few questions that may help you out. So, do I feel safe expressing my feelings to my partner? I know I did not, because I could express them and he would dismiss them, or he would get angry and turn things around back on me. So a lot of times I would just keep it to myself. What's the point if he's not going to listen, or if it's going to make my life more miserable? Okay, the next one. Do I walk on eggshells? Not sure when the next blow up will be. I remember in my relationship, my whole family was walking on eggshells, trying to suss out this person's behavior. Like, is he in a good mood today? Okay, we can relax a little bit. Is he in a bad mood today? Oh no. Okay, we've got to figure out a way to get out of the house. Another question is, do I feel more unsure of myself than in the past? So I know that for me, I was very confident for many years. My confidence took a big hit after my first husband, but as I was with my narcissistic ex, I noticed that over time I was dimming my personality more and more. I was becoming less and less confident. I was becoming a shell of my former self. So if you feel that way, that's a big sign that you may be in an emotionally abusive relationship. Okay, so physical signs that you might experience are, you might experience anxiety, or your anxiety is increasing over time. You may experience chronic health symptoms like migraines, IBS, joint pain, or, back pain, all those types of things. Any kind of chronic illness could be caused from holding your emotions inside of you and not being able to talk to your partner about how you're feeling, not being able to come to any kind of resolution for problems in your relationship. Okay, another one is you find it difficult to make decisions on your own. So you may not even know what kind of food you like anymore, or what kind of clothes you like, or what kind of decor you like for your household, because you're dulling your personality and your feelings in favor of keeping the peace, which allows this narcissistic or toxic partner to make all the decisions for you. Okay, and I wish I had known sooner that, I wasn't necessarily the problem. Of course I could improve like everybody else, but, the things that I felt a little insecure about were motherhood. I wanted to be the best mother possible. That was a dream of mine always, to be a mother, and to be a great one was really important. And he picked up on that. He knew that was something that I was concerned about, and he would find my insecurities and point them out to me. And then another one was financial stuff. Like, I knew that I wasn't great with money, but he made it seem like I was terrible with money and he had to take over. And the funny thing about that is I had lived alone for like almost 4 years, raising my 3 children, keeping up with my household, keeping up with my career, and then I let this person come in and make me believe that I was bad with money. So I had to forgive myself for letting him control me and for falling for his manipulations. And you're gonna have to forgive yourself too if you're in a relationship like this. These emotional abusers are very skilled. They've had much practice with everybody in their life. I think it's like it comes kind of subconsciously to them because they've had so much practice. They know what works and they know how to pick out your insecurities and how to manipulate. And you know, I felt like shame, like I said. I felt like a terrible person. Like, how did I let this happen? How did I let this happen to my children? But you know, what I've come to realize is so many women have fallen for similar tactics. It doesn't matter what kind of career you're in. It could be a psychologist, an attorney, a judge, a doctor. Any kind of successful person can fall for the manipulations of somebody that is, you know, working on your deepest fears and your deepest insecurities. So to begin healing, one of the things that helped me so much, and I recommend every client of mine do this, but it's to write down every incident that happens that's painful. And you can even go back to things that have happened in the past. But I started taking note of them. I put the date, I would write exactly what happened. Like, he said this, I said this, then this happened. And what I noticed was when I would scroll back and look at it, I had like over 1.5 years of incidents. It's like, how have I let this much time pass by feeling like this? So, you know, you can do this list in your notes app or an old email folder, or you can put it in the Evernote app. That's what I use because it's password protected. But give it an inconspicuous name like gardening or something like that. And it would be something that your partner would never be interested in looking at. Like, it would look so boring, like cleaning tips or something like that. They would never look at that. So just remember that just because you weren't physically harmed, it doesn't mean you weren't hurt. And trust your intuition. Know that this confusion that you're feeling about your relationship is a warning sign. And if you need help getting out, that's, you know, reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's my job. That's what I do. You can schedule a peaceful clarity call. And a peaceful clarity call is just like a 45-minute call. You can tell me your situation. I will help you plan out your next steps forward. I will send you a PDF guide to help you, just give you some ideas of what you can do next. It's $97. It's designed to help you walk away with a sense of direction and peace. So if that sounds good, check out the description below and I'll have it for you there. So if you've stayed to the end, thank you so much for watching, and let me know any subjects on narcissism or toxic relationships that you would like me to cover in the future, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.